it happened. Neither of us thought it would happen.
Yeah, I had no
I was
expectation
convinced
whatsoever.
after E3. I was like, they made it through E3. It can't get any worse, can it? But they caved.
Well, yeah, I mean, Microsoft's MO is to just force it on you. If you don't like it, they'll just keep doing it. In the same way Hideo Kojima kept putting Raiden in every single game. Just, we will keep doing this shit until you like it. That's always been their MO with Windows 8 and games for Windows Live. Their whole MO has been to just shove it in because they're the ones in control. They're the ones that say what goes.
They're like that creepy guy who just doesn't get the hint the first time or the 60th time or the 7th time.
Creepy.
Yeah, and then just keep rolling up and say, hey, I bought you a drink, and
you didn't respond to my 11 texts.
Right.
What's going on?
Exactly.
That said, I mean, the amount of pressure they were under was massive. This is one of the most pressurized situations I think a company's been in. And I was expecting maybe quietly they'd soften the blow, they'd change things a little. As I was saying to Conrad earlier, I didn't expect it to be so sudden nor so complete. But the whole total change was something I think that took us all by surprise. Not that I think Microsoft did it out of some great philanthropic desire to fight on the side of the consumer. I think it had a lot more to do with the military saying, what the fuck? And a lot more with Jimmy Fallon on late night leading an applause by an audience who, in fairness, probably 50% didn't know what the fuck they were clapping for. I'm on TV. But they were clapping. And that was the important thing when Jimmy Fallon said, this is the only system that supports used games.
Famed actor Michelle Rodriguez was bitching about the DRM. And then, strangely enough, she's like, oh, wait, Call of Duty's on this. Never mind.
But yeah, it was a perfect encapsulation of what I expected the general consumer base to be. And
so we really lucked out that they caved when they did, because...
Did we luck out, though? Did we luck out?
Oh no family sharing. I know some people are bitching about that already. Well, and it's like, yeah, that would have been nice to give 9 people your games.
Not even in terms of the loss of that individual feature, but the loss of an opportunity to demonstrate that these kinds of aggressive business models are something we as consumers are willing to accept in a way that will actually matter to the company. It's one thing for them to back away from what they have now decided is a bad strategy, and then executing a bad strategy and seeing it fail. One, you get to pat yourself on the back for. The other means you have to reevaluate your approach.
Yeah. And this whole, because some people, Gizmodo being one of them, as an outlet, has criticised people saying, oh, this is all our fault now that the Xbox One is worse, that game sharing is no longer a thing, and that you can't utilize the infinite power of the cloud as much as you could. It's not our fault. If Microsoft built all that as so integral, as so much a part of the other, that's all on them. At the end of the day, they're the ones who made all the decisions. They've made all the decisions. They started this shit, and it's now their fault that they can't end this shit gracefully. I certainly would not take any responsibility for it, and I don't think any customer whose concern should be only about themselves and how this shit affects them should take responsibility for it either. I also certainly don't want to join those among us who think we should now be thanking Microsoft. These individuals, I view them very much like one would view a Skeksis from Dark Crystal, as some twisted, bent, hunched, bird-like entity that squawks, the very worst of the corporate thralls, gratefully bowing and scraping towards the holders of the barbed chain that they lash to our feet and hands and send us into the mines to collect jewels. What were we talking about?
For me, it's fair. It's fair for Microsoft to have this grand online vision, but it's exactly what you're saying, Jim, that they did not need to go so far away from what we're used to. I think there is a time when a lot of this stuff will make sense, when more people have internet access and we transition into that. But for for us to drop used games the way we are used to them, that sort of thing. It's
To a certain extent, that's also kind of Microsoft's business model.
It is.
You know, they want to be the guys that are there when the market says we are ready to spend billions and billions of dollars. Microsoft was the guys saying, yeah, we're ready.
We're ready for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And, but they're too far
Too
ahead
far
of
ahead.
general.
Yeah, the
business.
trouble with trying to predict the market is you don't know where the market's going to go. I mean, we saw that this generation, the way Sony jumped on 3D TV, and
Okay, now come on. Really? Like, did we really think that was going to blow up?
well, a lot of people did. People from Sony, Ubisoft.
We lose ourselves about 3D every 12 years or so.
Ubisoft said it was the future of gaming. But this is, like, Microsoft is really doing what the tech industry as a whole does. They're obsessed with the revolution, the sudden, dramatic, sweeping change. They don't believe in evolution. For such an advanced industry that's always on the cusp of advancement, their brains are still very much like the Westboro Baptist Church with this lack of belief in evolution. And yet, that is the wise option, the steady path to success. A lot of the problem with the Xbox One's ideas, and some of them still are that way, especially with this focus on TV and stuff, is it's trying to appeal to a market that's not necessarily there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same, I mean, they did that with Kinect, and some would say they lucked out there. I'm still not so sure if they lucked out to the point where it deserves the amount of focus they've put on Kinect. But this has always been their problem, and not just their problem. And this is, you know, we could even argue the same of Sony, who thought that a $599 luxury console in 2005 was what people wanted. And the market wasn't big enough to support that idea. You can't play to an empty theater and hope people turn up.
Well, and that's what it comes down to for me, is that yes, this is a big step in the right direction, and for some people, it will be more than enough, I'm sure. I'm sure people obviously would have gotten the console with all this crap, but it's still pricier than PlayStation 4. It still doesn't have self-publishing for indies. It still has Kinect. I mean, does this change anything for either of you? I mean, are you still leaning towards whatever you were leaning towards before?
I'm still leaning the same direction.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't really changed my opinion on... The only thing it has changed my opinion on is whether or not I might buy an Xbox One.
Down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you woke me up this morning and said, hey, are you going to buy an Xbox One? I just said, no. I'm not going to buy an Xbox. Now I'm saying, someday, I may buy an Xbox One.
Yeah, I mean, like I said on Twitter earlier, I said I'm not going to give Microsoft shit for backtracking, because the backtrack in this case is a benefit to users, even if that's not what Microsoft's intention was, if they just wanted to get themselves out of trouble. The net benefit is for us. They might not have done it for us, but the benefits come to us. So I'm not going to give them shit for doing that. And at the same time, I'm not going to suddenly thank them and be grateful, and now I'm suddenly Xbox Day One, and I'm on Microsoft's train. You know, they get a nod. They get a slight, almost imperceptible nod, and a statement of, okay, Microsoft, now we can have a conversation.
Now it's the games more than anything, I think, is what it will come down to.
Yeah, there's a whole... Yeah, the way it's paved a lot clearer. And, like, I understand... I've heard people being a little disappointed that now, you know, you're going to have to put your disc back in the tray. You don't have to. Just buy the digital release. It sounds like everything's going to have a digital release.
Everything will.
Yeah, so
yeah,
not really a big deal. If you don't want to deal with the disc, don't buy a disc.
I think people are just looking for ways to be angry about this, because they were already pleased with the narrative that Microsoft was being bullied by the bad men. And now that Microsoft's changed that, now it's, now I am sad for I have to have a bit of plastic for a minute. Fuck off.
There's some evidence of a Steam borrowing option that might exist for games.
In which you could play your friend's game when they aren't playing it, essentially. This was discovered in some Steam files from a beta build of the client. So yeah, that could happen. That could be a game changer.
I'd like it. No matter what I say about used games and whatnot, I'm actually something of a believer in digital distribution. And when I game on PC, I want to get it from Steam or Good Old Games or Amazon Games or Green Man Gaming, one of those services, whoever's offering the best, or direct from the developer now that we can do that a lot, like with Grimrock and whatnot. I'm a big believer in digital distribution, and I don't even mind giving up used games so long as the digital distribution is good enough, is a good enough service to justify getting rid of used games. My big problem with consoles is now that consoles are getting more complex and they're getting more similar to PCs, but still with the old limitations of consoles, and their online stores are shit. And they might get better in the next generation. I don't think they're going to get that much better. I just don't think they've got what it takes. They're always slow in some way, hard to navigate.
Well, and they lack competition.
The pricing is not comparable.
The price, yeah, absolutely. There's that as well. On PC, I'm a lot more willing to go digital, but at the same time, I think if we want to get into this situation where we're all digital, where it's completely embraced, there are still things that need to change on PC as well as console. We need a much better returns policy. We need more like what retail has, with less quibbling, and it shouldn't be an extreme thing if you buy a game and trade it, even if it's a small amount of time, like smaller than retail, not 7 days, maybe even just as much as a matter of hours. Mm-hmm. Just so long as you've got the security of being able to buy a game and they'll take it back no fuss. There should be more options like that, and the game borrowing is definitely something I feel that is a wonderful idea that would bring us closer to that kind of thing. That's the kind of plan I hear that makes me think PC at least is ready to, in the next few years, really become all digital.
Well, and I think that's something that the PC market really has to do. But it's so weird. It's so weird to feel so comfortable about doing that on PC, and yet so uncomfortable about that. I mean, I bristle at the thought of doing that on a console. When the Xbox no disc thing was announced, I was just like, why would you ever want to do that? Why would you not want to put your disc into the tray?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's consoles right now have not really earned the right to presume to demolish their physical business. They've not demonstrated they've got what it takes to have a store interface that's quick and reliable. They've not demonstrated that they can even do something as simple as get a patch out for a buggy or broken game in time, whether they're charging developers to put the patches out or they're just dragging their heels to certify it, so it takes weeks to fix a problem that on PC can be done like that. All of this is important, and all of this is why Microsoft trying to push the all-digital future with the Xbox One was a bad idea right now. I think we need one generation, and hopefully it'll be this one, where the console platform holders can demonstrate they can hang as far as digital distribution goes. If they don't do it this generation, they're going to have to do it for another generation if they even last that long. PCs earned the right to do it, consoles haven't.